Have you ever made a small decision believing it would never hurt anyone? Mia thought she had found an easy way to outsmart an online retailer. Instead, every night, her lights began to flicker. Her television turned on by itself, and the face of a stranger appeared on every screen, silently watching her. When she called me for help, she believed she was being haunted by a ghost. But as I entered her apartment, I realized this wasn't just another paranormal investigation. Because sometimes, the most terrifying spirits aren't created by the dead. They're created by the choices we make while we're still alive. My name is Samantha. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew my life would never be ordinary. Some people believe meditation is simply a way to quiet the mind. For me, it has always been a doorway. When I close my eyes and allow my thoughts to become still, I begin to feel things that don't belong to this world. Places I have never visited appear before me. Faces of strangers drift through my consciousness. Sometimes I hear voices that no one else can hear. Sometimes I experience memories that were never my own. I don't claim to understand why I was given this gift. Perhaps it is God's way of allowing forgotten souls to complete the stories they could never finish. Perhaps every spirit searching for peace simply needs someone willing to listen. Over the years, I have learned one thing. Spirits rarely appear without a reason. They don't seek attention. They seek justice, forgiveness, or freedom. Every investigation has taught me that the greatest horrors are often created by the choices of the living rather than the dead. Just when I believed life was finally becoming peaceful, my phone rang again. The caller was a young woman named Mia. She lived in my own town, barely 20 minutes away. The fear in her voice was impossible to ignore. She managed to say, "Samantha, I think someone is inside my apartment." I asked whether she had contacted the police. She replied, "I've checked every room. I've changed the locks. There's never anyone there. But every night, I see him." Those final words convinced me to listen carefully. Mia was only 24 years old. Like many young professionals of her generation, she had built an impressive life at a remarkably young age. She worked for a multinational technology company, earned an excellent salary, rented a modern apartment, and enjoyed the independence she had always dreamed of. Her weekdays were filled with online meetings, presentations, deadlines, coffee breaks with colleagues, and long hours in front of multiple computer screens. Her weekends were completely different. Brunch with friends, posting pictures on social media, trying new cafes, following fashion trends, watching product reviews, ordering the latest gadgets before anyone else, waiting excitedly for delivery notifications. Her phone was almost an extension of her hand. Every few minutes, another notification arrived. A new sale, a limited time offer, a flash discount, a recommended product, a new collection. The digital world surrounded her from the moment she woke until she finally fell asleep. She represented an entire generation that had grown up connected to the internet. There was nothing unusual about that, until 1 month ago. That was when everything changed. "It always begins with the lights," she told me. "They flicker for a few seconds. I think it's an electrical problem. But then, my television starts flickering too. My laptop screen follows, and for just 1 second, I see the face of a man. The same face, every single time." She paused, struggling to breathe. "He never smiles. He just stares at me. I blink, and he's gone. I haven't slept properly in weeks. I'm afraid to switch on my television. I'm afraid to open my laptop after sunset. I've stopped inviting friends over. I'm barely eating. My work performance is falling. I feel trapped." Her fear sounded genuine. I agreed to visit her that same afternoon. 20 minutes later, I parked outside a modern apartment complex in one of the newer neighborhoods of town. Everything looked perfectly ordinary. Children played in the courtyard, neighbors walked their dogs, delivery drivers came and went. Nothing suggested anything paranormal. Mia opened the door before I even knocked. She looked exhausted. Dark circles surrounded her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly. She apologized repeatedly for disturbing me. I assured her that helping people like her was the reason I accepted these cases. As soon as I entered the apartment, I allowed myself to quietly observe everything around me. Sometimes a spirit announces its presence immediately. Sometimes the atmosphere itself feels unusually heavy. Sometimes there is an unexplainable coldness. But this apartment felt normal. The temperature was comfortable, the air felt clean. There was no unusual smell, no strange sounds, no overwhelming spiritual energy. I unpacked my investigation equipment: electromagnetic field sensors, temperature monitors, audio recorders, motion detectors. Everything remained perfectly normal. Not a single abnormal reading appeared. Even the electrical wiring seemed stable. The lights stayed steady, the television worked flawlessly. Her laptop showed no technical faults. For nearly 2 hours, nothing happened. It was almost disappointing. Then my attention shifted somewhere else. Not toward a ghost, toward Mia's belongings. Every wall of the apartment was covered with shelves. Every shelf was overflowing. Designer shoes still inside unopened boxes. Stack after stack of clothing. Dozens of handbags. Expensive headphones. Smartwatches. Jewelry organizers packed to the brim. Kitchen appliances she admitted she had never used. 3 coffee machines. Several tablets. More than 1 laptop. Unopened cosmetics. Decorations still inside their original packaging. Every closet was completely full. Large plastic storage bins had been pushed underneath the bed. Vacuum storage bags were stacked inside another wardrobe. Even the hallway contained neatly arranged packages waiting to be opened. The apartment was clean, extremely organized, but there was hardly any empty space left. It looked less like someone's home and more like a warehouse carefully disguised as a luxury apartment. Finally, I smiled and asked, "Do you run an online business?" She laughed weakly. "No. Everything here belongs to me." I looked around once more. "You use all of this?" She hesitated before answering. "Eventually. I buy things whenever they're on sale. If I don't buy them immediately, I'm afraid I'll miss the opportunity." Then she smiled awkwardly. "Online shopping has become my hobby." I nodded politely but said nothing. Before leaving, I discreetly installed several monitoring cameras and a few compact environmental sensors throughout the apartment. If something truly appeared each night, I wanted to witness it with my own eyes. The next morning, I began researching Mia. Not to invade her privacy, but to understand the person behind the fear. Unlike previous investigations, I didn't need public records. Mia's life was already on display. She was active on nearly every social media platform. Every day there was something new. Unboxing my latest purchase. Look what arrived today. Flash sale, couldn't resist. My package finally came. My collection is growing. There were designer handbags, luxury shoes, limited edition sneakers, smartphones, tablets, wireless headphones, jewelry, fashion accessories, home decor, kitchen gadgets, beauty products, expensive perfumes. It seemed there wasn't a single week when a delivery truck didn't stop outside her apartment. Every notification announcing a discount felt like an invitation she simply couldn't ignore. The comments beneath her posts made everything worse. "You are so lucky. I wish I could afford this. Your collection is amazing. You inspire me." The approval of strangers had quietly become part of her daily routine. Late that evening, my phone rang again. It was Mia. She sounded even more frightened than before. "Samantha, it happened again." I immediately asked her what she had been doing. "I was opening my laptop. I wanted to return something I bought online yesterday. The screen started flickering. The lights blinked. And then I saw him. The same man. He was closer this time. What frightened me most? He looked directly into my eyes." I drove to her apartment immediately. This time, I didn't ask many questions. Instead, I removed every monitoring device I had installed the previous night. Back home, I transferred all the recordings onto my computer. Hour after hour, everything looked perfectly normal. Mia slept. The apartment remained quiet. No unusual sounds, no unexplained movements. Nothing. Then, at exactly 11:42 p.m., one camera suddenly distorted. Static spread across the screen. The image trembled. A strange interference lasted barely 2 seconds. At that exact moment, another camera facing the living room captured something impossible. The television switched on by itself, only for a heartbeat, its screen filled with white static. Then, a face slowly emerged. A man. His expression wasn't violent. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry. He simply stared toward Mia's bedroom. Then the image disappeared. The television turned itself off. The apartment returned to complete silence. I replayed the recording again and again. Every time, the same face appeared. That night, I prepared for meditation. I lit candles, placed my crystal beside me, held my cross in my hand, and closed my eyes. I focused on Mia, her apartment, her television, her laptop, the endless rows of unopened boxes, the crowded closets, the delivery labels, the shopping bags, the constant notifications, the credit cards, the excitement of another purchase. Slowly, the darkness behind my closed eyes began to change. Fragments of unfamiliar memories drifted toward me. I saw delivery trucks moving through rain-soaked streets, warehouse workers loading packages, conveyor belts carrying thousands of parcels every hour, cardboard boxes stacked higher than a person, scanning machines, shipping labels, apartment doors opening, hands accepting deliveries. Then, the images became faster. One purchase became another. One return became another. One refund became another. Mia ordering things she didn't truly need, buying because there was a sale, returning because another version looked better, ordering multiple sizes, keeping one, sending 3 back, sometimes opening expensive products, using them once, then carefully repackaging them before requesting a refund. The visions accelerated. I saw unpaid credit card statements, interest charges growing every month, minimum payments, another online purchase made just to feel happy for a few minutes. The happiness disappeared almost immediately. Then another order, another notification, another delivery, another temporary excitement. The cycle repeated endlessly. Then, everything suddenly stopped. The darkness around me became unusually cold. I felt an overwhelming sadness. Not anger, not hatred. Sadness. A large cardboard box appeared before me. It carried a bright red sticker that read, "Delivered." The box slowly opened by itself. Inside, there was only darkness. And from that darkness, someone stepped forward. The same man whose face had appeared on Mia's television. He looked exhausted. His work uniform was stained. His eyes carried unbearable pain. He raised one trembling hand toward me, not to frighten me, not to attack me, but to show me that he desperately wanted me to understand something. Then, the vision vanished. I opened my eyes, breathing heavily. For the first time since taking Mia's case, I realized this haunting wasn't random. The spirit wasn't trying to hurt her. He was trying to reveal a truth she had buried long ago. But I still didn't know what that truth was. Only one thing had become clear. The answers weren't hidden inside Mia's apartment. They were hidden somewhere in her past. And I knew my next meditation would reveal everything. The following night, I prepared myself for another meditation. Some visions arrive like memories. Others arrive like storms. I closed my eyes and slowed my breathing. This time, I focused only on one thing: the face of the mysterious man. Within moments, the darkness surrounding me became heavier than I had ever experienced. I felt as though I was standing inside an enormous warehouse. Thousands of cardboard boxes moved along endless conveyor belts. Workers hurried from one aisle to another, scanning parcels as delivery trucks arrived, one after another. Everyone looked exhausted. Then my attention was drawn toward one young delivery driver. His name was Daniel. He looked to be no older than 30. Every morning before sunrise, he kissed his elderly mother goodbye, promised his father he would return for dinner, and left home carrying hope that one day he would save enough money to buy a small house for his parents. He worked 12 to 14 hours every day. Rain, snow, burning summer afternoons. Nothing stopped him. Every package represented another step towards supporting the people he loved. The vision changed again. I watched Daniel arrive outside Mia's apartment building. He smiled politely. She signed for an expensive electronic package. To him, it was just another delivery among hundreds that week. But to fate, it would become the beginning of a terrible chain of events. Several days passed. Then another scene unfolded before me. Mia sat alone inside her apartment. The expensive product rested on her table. She had already opened it, used it, examined every feature. But then another thought entered her mind. If I tell the company the package arrived empty, I'll get my money back. And I can keep the product. She hesitated. She knew it was dishonest. She even picked up the phone twice before putting it back down. Finally, temptation won. She contacted customer support. She calmly explained that the shipping box had been empty. The representative apologized. An internal investigation immediately began. The vision shifted again. Daniel was called into his manager's office. The supervisor placed photographs of the package on the table, the delivery records, the customer complaint, security logs. Daniel looked confused. I delivered it exactly as I received it. I swear I didn't take anything. His manager believed he might be telling the truth. But this wasn't the first complaint the company had received that month from different customers. Because of multiple unresolved cases, management decided to suspend him while the investigation continued. Daniel pleaded for another chance. He explained that his parents depended entirely on his income. He had never stolen anything in his life. But policies were policies. Until the investigation ended, he was dismissed. The meditation became even darker. I watched Daniel searching desperately for another job. Every interview ended the same way. His previous employer refused to recommend him while the investigation remained unresolved. His savings disappeared. Bills piled up. Rent became overdue. His father's medications stopped. His mother quietly skipped meals so her son could eat. The guilt slowly destroyed him. Then, one rainy evening, Daniel stood alone on a bridge overlooking a silent river. His shoulders trembled. His eyes were empty. "I didn't steal anything," he whispered. "I only want it to work." A cold wind swept across the bridge. The vision faded before I saw anything more. But deep inside, I already knew how his story had ended. The silence itself told me everything. Then another image appeared. Daniel's elderly parents sat together inside a tiny apartment. Neither of them understood why such tragedy had entered their lives. The grief consumed them. Within months, they too were gone. 3 innocent lives destroyed by one dishonest decision. Suddenly, the meditation changed once more. I found myself standing beside Daniel's spirit. He wore accusations. He wasn't violent. He looked exactly as he had appeared on Mia's television. His eyes were filled with endless sadness. He looked at me. Then he slowly pointed toward a glowing laptop screen. I watched countless online orders appear before me. Packages, refunds, returns, false damage claims, products used and sent back. Claims that boxes had arrived empty. Not once, not twice, again and again. I finally understood. Daniel wasn't haunting Mia because of revenge alone. He wanted her to see something she had refused to acknowledge. Every dishonest click, every false claim, every lie made from the comfort of a screen had consequences that reached real human beings. People with families, people with dreams, people whose names she never knew. When I opened my eyes, tears were running down my face. I immediately called Mia. She answered after the first ring. Before she could speak, I quietly said, "Mia, I know why he has come." There was complete silence. Then she whispered, "Who is he?" I told her every vision. There was another long silence. Finally, she spoke in a trembling voice. "Oh, God." I remember. About 18 months earlier, she had ordered an expensive limited edition laptop. But after buying it, she realized she couldn't afford it. Instead of returning it honestly, she reported that the package had arrived empty. The company refunded every dollar. She kept the laptop. I thought the company would absorb the loss. I never imagined someone else would pay the price. I shook my head. Every dishonest decision eventually reaches someone. Sometimes we never see whose life it destroys. That night, we returned to Mia's apartment. For the first time, I didn't bring any paranormal equipment, only candles, my cross. Mia placed the laptop, the very one she had obtained through deception, on the living room table. Beside it, she placed a handwritten letter, not addressed to me, not addressed to the police, addressed to the man she had wronged. She read every word aloud. She admitted her lie. She accepted responsibility. She apologized without trying to justify herself. When those finished reading, something remarkable happened. Every light inside the apartment went out. Complete darkness. Every electronic screen turned on by itself. The television, the laptop, the tablet, even the old digital clock in the kitchen. Every screen displayed the same image, the silent face of the delivery driver. He wasn't angry anymore. He simply looked at Mia. The apartment became impossibly cold. Then, slowly, the image raised one hand, not in accusation, not in revenge, but as if accepting the truth she had finally spoken. At that exact moment, every screen turned white. A brilliant light filled the apartment. Within seconds, everything returned to normal. The lights came back. The television switched itself off. The laptop restarted as though nothing had happened. The room felt warm again. The heaviness that had haunted the apartment for weeks had vanished. Mia collapsed into tears. "I don't deserve forgiveness," she whispered. The following morning, Mia voluntarily contacted the retailer, admitted the fraud, repaid the money with penalties, and gave a complete statement to investigators. She also met the driver's surviving relatives and established a charitable scholarship in his memory to support families of delivery workers facing hardship. Months later, she sold nearly everything she had accumulated through compulsive shopping. Her apartment, once overflowing with possessions, became almost empty. For the first time in years, she said she finally felt free. That case taught me something I will never forget. Sometimes, the darkest hauntings are not caused by abandoned houses. They are created by ordinary choices made without thinking about the lives they touch. And just when I thought that case was over, my phone rang again. The voice on the other end spoke only one sentence. "Samantha, something has been calling my name from inside the abandoned subway tunnels." I looked out into the night. Some journeys end, others are only beginning. Beyond the Sixth Sense continues.
Beyond the Sixth Sense. Samantha closes her eyes, slow breath, sitting still in the dark. She can feel them, cold air, sudden chill. Beyond the Sixth Sense, she knows, she knows. Beyond the Sixth Sense, where every secret flows. Beyond the Sixth, beyond the Sixth, beyond the Sixth Sense, she feels them drawing near. Samantha sees and beyond the Sixth Sense. Beyond the Sixth Sense.